Should you summon this weekend in Watcher of Realms? How the heck are you guys? I am Fastidious. Welcome to the channel. And in this video, we are going to unpack the big question, should you use any summons this weekend? I have seen a lot of people on YouTube and of course Discord making this a simpler proposition than what I believe it actually to be. Yes, these are not the greatest banners ever, but one specific hero featured this weekend is insanely unique, is incredibly special, and is exceedingly meta for certain content. So for that reason, no, I don't think a lot of people should summon, but some people probably should or should at least consider it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
So let's jump right in and let us begin with the banner that I think is the one most people should for sure be skipping, and that is the one-day special divine summoning for Fery. So this is a banner with Fery and Ares, but I gotta say, Ares right now in the game has no place. Briefly, he was the premier tank in Abyss 1, but many better solutions have been found. Many's actually an exaggeration, but he's not needed. He's no longer meta. He's usable. He can help you get a 60k run, but there are indeed several other options, and he is not the best option. And actually, that is the perfect transition into our discussion of the star of this banner, Fery, who also can get a lot of jobs done, but no longer in this game is he the best option for basically anything. Right? So Fery stood alone for a while and was such a necessary unit because of his Sand Aegis passive. This brings a special buff in the game called AoE damage reduction. This reduces all incoming AoE damage. And with skill ups, this would increase to become a 25% reduction in incoming AoE damage. Because this is its own kind of buff, it can stack with other reduction buffs, like magic damage reduction and physical damage reduction. And now recently, with the introduction of Ailen into the game, we also have final damage reduction. This is its own kind of reduction, so it can stack with all of that. And for a long time, too long, I'll be honest, Fery was the only unit in the game that had this buff. This made him entirely unique, it made him meta, it made him special. However, there are now two other units that have this buff. Ailen, who we just mentioned, she doesn't just have the final damage reduction, she also has AoE damage reduction, and it also, like Fery, is 100% constant uptime. And then we have got Nerissa, who is kind of just Fery plus. She's just better Fery for basically all content. There is one other hero in the game that has AoE damage reduction. If you want to pause it here and guess in the comments, there's your little trivia for the day. For everyone else, it's Beelzebub. It is only for his fellow cultists, and it is only when he is ulting, but actually Beelzebub is the fourth unit in the game that has AoE damage reduction, and before the introduction of Nerissa and Ailen, when Beelzebub had his first big buff, he became the second unit to have it. However, because Fery no longer is super special, because Nerissa's here, because Ailen's here, and frankly, both of them are better heroes, he's a great to have, especially if you don't have the other two, but he's not the one you're going out of your way to seek out. Of course, if you're a, giant saver or more likely a giant spender, you can go get him. In particular, if you do not have Nerissa, even if you're a big spender, if you have Nerissa, I think you can just skip him. If you don't, you can go get him. Otherwise, I would just wait till the next Nerissa banner or the next Ailen banner. You're gonna want a copy of both of those two, but actually, the way the game currently stands right now when I'm filming this video, you don't need Fery for anything. Nerissa is strictly better than him at almost everything, basically everything. It's just they're in different factions, but right now, Esotericist is stronger than Infernal. So even there's almost no situation where if you had everything, you'd be bringing Infernal units over Esotericists. Of course, if you don't have everything, you might be leaning on Infernals. Fery's still going to be great, but my big point is you're not seeking him out on his banner. Now, you might be wondering about the rest of his kit, and I haven't talked about it because it's just not special. He has Inspiration here, and it's solid, but it's not better than a Diao Chan, right? It's not going to be better than a Dolores. It's not that important. It's like a random bonus whatever to 3 allied units, and it's fine. He has single target heals, and when he ults, he has a little bit of a burst AoE heal, and then he's got this passive, Sans Bestowal, where temporarily certain units, when they're hit with AoE damage, will receive 10 seconds of increased healing received. But actually, Nerissa has a better kind of increased healing received anyway. So all in all, he's still really relevant. Like for me, I don't have Narissa. I still use Fery every single day, but he's not the kind of unit you seek out. And like I said, Ares doesn't really have any important place in the game right now. This is the skip. You might be thinking, and here's a good transition into the main banner this weekend featuring Ailen. You may be thinking, well, it's just divine summons. Can't I throw a couple divines at Fery? Yeah, I guess. So for specific players that have a bunch of divines, are desperate for AoE damage reduction, do not have Narissa, and do have Ailen, I think you could throw some divines. This banner is only your gold legendary summons. However, if you're also missing Ailen, that is where you should be throwing your divines. Ailen is on 20x for divine summoning with your gold legendary summoning crystals, along with Malik, and she's also available with your blue summons, your rare summoning crystals, right? And if you're missing Ailen and Fery, Ailen has not had power creep. No one else has entered the game that can do what Ailen does. She has a crazy range, and she is by a mile the best AoE healer in the game. Combine that with the fact that she has very good normal damage reduction. You can see any allies in range when she has full stacks of her mechanic Divine Moonlight will receive, it says 10% here, but at max skill ups it's 15%. 15% less damage. That is really strong. Combine that with the fact that she really does have the best AoE healing in the game. And then for a lot of content, she's super special because she's only 6 cost. She continues to dominate in this game as a one-of-one unit. So when I say one of one, I mean there's really no one like her. There's actually no unit in the game that actually has good, constant AoE healing. It is literally just Ailen. She's got this all allies in range attack-based healing. No one else has something like this. And then when she's ulting, the quantity and quality of these heals going everywhere is amazing. Like, she's really, really, really good. So I am hyping her up, and that is with good reason. I'm not saying everyone needs to summon for her, but don't get it twisted and think she's the kind of unit you can skip. She is irreplaceable in certain comps. So while I don't think this is a must summon if you don't have her, because we know there are so many good things coming, and we're going to cover that in 1 second, I do think certain players should consider it. The approach I would suggest, unless you have tons saved or you're a big spender and you can kind of work week to week, the approach I would suggest is throwing some legendary summoning crystals at her, right? You've got your gold legendary summoning crystals. It's a 20x. If you're lucky enough to hit twice, you're nearly guaranteed to hit either her or Malik. It's like a 38% chance on the first hit that you're going to get one of those two. It's an 85% chance on the second hit. The chance of hitting on one of those first 2 hits is 89.5%. And then once you hit on one of these 2 banner units, it's a coin flip, whether or not it's Ailen or Malik. And if you're just going to do one and you pull one legendary and you're lucky, almost a 20% chance it's Ailen. And that's a dart that's worth throwing, in my opinion, even with what we know is coming. Ailen is that good. She is that special. So we're going to talk about Malik at the very end, but let me drive that home very, very quickly now. The number 1 piece of content a lot of players want to progress in within Watcher of Realms is going to be Abyss. And if we go to the world rankings, you can scroll for a while and it's going to be hard not to find Ailen. You will see some obvious exceptions at the very top, and these are A5 Leia comps. These are the greatest comps in the world, the ones breaking 100,000 blood. But if we go to the middle, some of the other very, very best comps, but those without the absolute best gear imaginable, the not top 3 players in the world, the ones not doing the A5 crazy Leia comp, it's Ailen, 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 Ailen. No Ailen here. Pretty cheeky, actually. Shout out to this Eloin comp. And then it's going to be Ailen, 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 Eloin, Ailen, Ailen. You get it. There are other solutions at the highest levels, but for the vast majority of us, the answer is Ailen. And there is a lot of content like that. We've seen that with some of the harder challenges in the monthly tower, and I'm sure we're going to see it in future content, at least until another great AoE unit is added. And remember, she's super low cost and comes with that extra damage reduction support functionality. So I don't think she's like 100% must pull. It's not like she was Eloin before the introduction of Ireless being another option, though they're not an exact one-to-one. You get what I'm saying. But she is so unique and so important that she's someone worth trying to get. Now, do I think you should be unloading on the blue version of this banner and using your rare summoning crystals and your diamonds and going all out? I think unless you're a big spender, Obviously not, but I do think a lot of people should consider trying to get her. Just throw a couple cheeky legendary summoning crystals, or don't, because frankly, a lot of good stuff is coming. But I do think we'd be doing Ailen and this banner a disservice if we pretended that this banner was an obvious ignore, because it's really not. Ailen has become so important in this game. When she first came out, she was not that significant because healing didn't really matter. There was no content that healing was the issue. So when you picked your healers, you were picking them off of all the things in their kit besides healing. But for raw AoE healing, Ailen is numero uno. Now with Malik, I wish I could tell you more specifics. I have tested him on the test server since his update. From what I can tell, he's definitely better, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be meta or game breaking. But I don't want to assume he's not. I just haven't figured anything like that out yet. He hits a lot harder. He's more relevant. The second Wizard's Rune he can apply in Malik's Halls of Illusion is really cool. But I think until there's a piece of Malik content that you really need that, he's not going to be meta anywhere. And even once that exists, he's only going to be meta there. Malik's Halls of Illusions is really important, and it makes sense that Malik is going to be good in that content. But aside from the extra stone he can use there, that was the cool part of his buff, the extra Wizard's Rune mark that he was able to put out. Without that, I just don't think the changes are enough. It's not like it's god tier damage or anything. From what I can tell, it's just a lot less embarrassing than his very underwhelming damage he put out before. So he's definitely better. He's going to be a better consolation prize than he used to be, but you certainly should not be seeking him out. So view this as the Ailen banner, and when you decide whether or not to summon, definitely evaluate if she could immediately boost your account, because I think for a lot of you guys, you're going to find she would once you think a little bit about it. I also want to mention, if you already have her, please don't summon. We have such good banners coming, so that's where I want to wrap up. Let's make sure everyone is fully informed. I have a whole video diving into this stuff, going over each banner, so you can definitely go watch that, where I talk about the early banner reveals. But if you just want the quick hits, we already know the next 2 weekends of banners. I'll quickly say we know next Saturday, November 1st, is going to be Ardia and Ezerith. This is a really amazing ancient summoning banner, which I will cover extensively the next week. However, this is a different summoning currency, so it's not relevant to this video. The relevant banners that will inform your decision making are this banner next Friday on Halloween, October the 31st. We get Malvira on a rerun with the brand new, very strong mage Valise, and Valise has phenomenal synergies with Ezerith. And then the next week, starting on November the 7th, we're getting a very strong rerun banner of Beatrix and Beelzebub. Beatrix is one of the best AoE units in the game, best AoE magic DPS mages. She's excellent. And then Beelzebub is the real prize here. Not to take away from how good Beatrix is, but Beelzebub over here is so unique, so powerful, so useful in so much content. So for that reason, this is the guy you would be focusing. Of these two banners and the current banner we have, I think Beelzebub is the best unit of the bunch. However, Ailen is still really relevant. But if it's going to be one or the other for you, and you need to save your rare summoning crystals and your diamonds, and you don't want to deal with the headache of going for Ailen now and then trying to scrap everything together in 2 weeks for Bubba, I would definitely say do not use those on Ailen. But I do think a couple cheeky legendary summons for Ailen, if you don't have her, could be cool. But her and Beelzebub, in my opinion, are the most unique of this bunch. That's not to say Malvira isn't a phenomenal tank. That is not to say Valise is not completely strong, and that her synergies with Ezerith aren't really important. They absolutely are. And it's not to say Beatrix isn't crazy strong as well. It's just Beelzebub and Ailen are the really unique OP one-of-one kind of units. So I hope I gave you enough. I hope I made perfect sense. I'm going to be honest, I'm incredibly tired. So if anything needs clarification, just ask me any question, anything you need cleared up in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer that tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.